the most shameless women on paternity court.
When she picked
Yes,
me up,
I did.
she came dressed in her clear hooker shoes and this.
Hooker shoe?
She's in clear shoes with money still in them. And
Okay, that was for decoration.
We was having problems in our relationship because the simple fact he was not showing me any attention. He just wasn't being a man that I expected him to be.
Mr. Mason and Miss Malone have been having a lot of marital troubles because Mr. Mason caught Miss Malone in the act of cheating. Thus, paternity doubt, while the girlfriend claimed that there was no reason for denial, and the plaintiffs need DNA proof.
You were walking in the alleys, Ms. Malone?
Yes, I was sneaking around, but there was a break.
You were sneaking around doing what?
seeing other guys. But there was a break because he wasn't showing me any attention.
We wasn't on a break at all. We wasn't on a break.
Were you all
my
committed?
knowledge, we was in a relationship
Your Honor, yeah,
still.
we've been on and off for 3 years now.
This woman's got real guts. It turns out that the two started dating online, and when they met, they just knew they had to take the relationship to another level. But once they moved in together, baby mama showed Mr. Mason her true colors. He was shocked and heartbroken. According to the alleged father, he wanted to work on these issues because of how much he loved her.
I had a friend watching my front door who lived right across from where we lived at.
Oh, you had a watchdog, right?
Yes, Your Honor, every time I went to work. She blamed it on because me and her wasn't having any intimacy or anything like that.
Do you remember that confrontation, Ms. Malone?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what did you respond?
I told him that it was my father that came to the door.
Then, a couple of months into the relationship, a friend of Mr. Mason told him that he had caught his wife sneaking around with strange men in their cars. Now, that's not very fair to the guy at the podium, but he knew he couldn't do anything until he had proper evidence. So, he decided to become a detective and launch a proper investigation.
I cheated on Mr. Mason. We was having problems in our relationship because the simple fact he was not showing me any attention. He just wasn't being a man that I expected him to be.
Okay, so let me say this. When it comes to the window of conception, when you were out with this other person, was that during the window of conception?
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
And the worst part? All of this cheating has made Mr. Mason doubt if his daughter Avery even really is his. That's why he's in court today, just so he can know for sure if he is Avery's biological father. Because after all, the defendant told the entire court that she was having relationships with multiple men while she conceived little Avery.
I overheard a conversation between her and another individual about she found the other guy on a website and how much Avery and the other guy and the other guy's child looked just alike. When I brought it to her attention, she said she didn't want me to find out like this. I was awake and I overheard everything.
Once Mr. Mason found out that his wife's pregnant, he decided to take the game into his own hands. Guess what he did? He went and told every single one of Miss Malone's family members that their daughter was pregnant and the child wasn't even his. How shocked everyone must have been to be dragged into all the drama of one shameless woman.
At first, it was two guys that popped up at our doorstep saying they were Avery's father.
What? When you say this gentleman popped up, he says there's even another gentleman that came. It just is hard for me to believe that you can say 100% certain that you believe Mr. Mason is the biological father when you're admitting that you were intimate with other people during the window.
Then, even Miss Malone's mother is brought into the courtroom to explain her side of the story. She staunchly defends her daughter and doesn't want Mr. Mason to be the father of Avery. Well, she should be scolding her shameless daughter, but that's not the case here. And the most shocking part? Miss Malone's pregnant again.
Is there a question as to the paternity of this child as well?
Your Honor, yes, I had doubt because at that time we were not together. We had broken up and
Yeah,
I was
Your Honor,
with this other guy.
You had moved on and you were now dating this guy.
She was having
Yes, Your
a
Honor.
relationship with him, but
And
yet
cheated on
still cheating
him
on him with me.
Okay, it keeps turning into a lot of cheating anecdotes. It turns out that it's just not in Miss Malone's bones to be a loyal woman. She had a man who was willing to give her everything, but she threw that right out the window by being a very shameless person. Now, there's just the results to see who is Avery's true father.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Mason, you are not her father. When it comes to the child that Ms. Malone is currently carrying, Mr. Mason, you are the father.
This duo had been having a pretty rocky relationship over 8 years, until suddenly, Kelly decided that she just wants out. According to her, the defendant had been unfaithful to her and started doubting the paternity of their kid. But who's telling the truth here? Is it Miss Hadel who's in the wrong, or is it Mr. Andrews? There's only one way to find out.
How does Mr. Andrews relate to Amarella because of his paternity doubt?
He calls his child and Amarella not in front of our children.
Really? Is that true, Mr. Andrews? That's not right.
No, it's not right. That's due to the things that she has said and done. She told me 2 different names that my child could be somebody else's child. So how can I trust that?
Kelly starts her story by saying that the two of them have been having an amazing time together for a while, but then she started to get suspicious. It turns out that baby daddy might have been sleeping around, but did she have any proof to support her statements? Whereas on the other hand, the defendant believes that the kid's not his because his wife had been the one sleeping around.
These are the reasons you believe you are not the father. You saw sexual text messages from another man. Is that correct?
Correct.
Explain.
The same person who I see this text message from is the same guy who she was having an affair with all along from the whole get-go. So when I seen that text message, my whole thought process was, it's gotta be his baby.
So, after he told his side of the story, everyone's pretty convinced that he's the guy who's been wronged in the relationship. No matter how much Kelly tries to pin the blame on him, the evidence against her is much stronger. Now, what does she have to say in her defense? Will she own up to her behavior, or will she make more shameless excuses?
Listen, you all have been together on and off for 8 years. He has 2 other children
3.
outside, 3 other children outside of the relationship?
During our relationship.
No.
Yes.
My
What
son-
kind of mess is this?
She's lying.
Right.
She's lying. She's lying.
You're gonna get the side eye now.
Even Judge Lauren is pretty shocked by all of this chaos. She asks the courtroom in great shock what kind of relationship this is. Kelly keeps going behind Maurice's back, and when Judge Lauren confronts her, she smiles and says she did it for her comfort. Absolutely shameless. This woman just won't stop.
Did you tell him that there were 2 other potential fathers? Did you say
No,
that
Honor,
to him?
this is what I said, and I'm gonna let you know what happened. He was saying this person and this person is her daddy. I said, okay.
Oh, you was
Then
having affairs with both of
okay,
them,
then
'cause she was having
no, I
affairs with
was
both
not.
guys.
Either way, so I just agreed with him because that's what he wanted to hear. So I said, okay.
On top of that, Kelly dared to tell Maurice to his face that she thinks their kid might have been conceived because of someone else. But it doesn't stop there. She ends up talking about how there are 2 more potential fathers. It leaves Maurice pretty heartbroken, but he decides that this selfish woman doesn't deserve anything from him.
You all sound like you like 16 years old.
Trust me, I know.
Arguing back and forth, and you got these little beautiful children. And from what I'm saying, I don't even know how you have time to make babies because you don't stop talking. If you're doing this in here, I can only imagine what you're doing at home.
Well, it seems like there's only one way to settle this matter. Kelly claims that Maurice is the father of their kid, even though she'd been cheating on him with multiple people. Meanwhile, Maurice has had enough, and all he wants is proof that he's not the father. With that, it's time to skip to the big revelation and lay the matter to rest for good.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Andrews, you are the father.
Scotty and Tiffany have been fighting for a long time, and the fight has been about the paternity of their beautiful little daughter, Zaylee. Baby daddy believes that he's the one who's Zaylee's actual father, but Tiffany refuses to let the defendant spend time with the little girl, all because she really hates Scotty.
Your Honor, I believe it's just out of pure hatred. She just doesn't want me to have visitation. I drive 160 miles every other weekend just to pick up my daughter and drop her off.
You say she hates you?
She hates.
Why does she hate you?
She hates me because at the end of the relationship, when things got rocky, I'll admit it, I did go to another woman. I'll be the first to admit that. You know, it was my mistake.
So it turns out that the reason the plaintiff really hates Scotty is that because when they were together, ex-boyfriend cheated on her multiple times. Even he admits it in front of everyone. Well, at least he owns up to his mistakes. So why does Tiffany take it out on their daughter? That's not fair to the little girl.
You pay $50 a week.
Just under $50 a week.
And that's not very much to get what she needs.
Is
I mean, at the end of the
is
month,
it enough to buy her clothes so she doesn't have to wear cut-off sweatpants and the same t-shirt every time I pick her up?
I do that because it's
Is
just what it
it
is.
enough money to buy her underwear so you don't got to keep putting her in diapers at 4
I
years
have
old?
underwear for her.
Scotty's been trying everything to be close to his daughter. He's the one who drives from one state to another to come spend time with her, and he's even paying for Zaley's child support. Even Judge Lauren is shocked why mommy doesn't let him spend time with the little girl.
I believed I was, and still believe, I was the only biological father. We were at family court talking to the family court commissioner about custody and the things that go along with that, like where she'd be going to school, her doctor, and all that. And Ms. Miller brings it up that I could possibly not be the father because of another man that was involved.
But Tiffany has her math to add here. According to her, she kept a check of all her dates, and they say that when Zaley was conceived, she wasn't sleeping with the guy at the podium. She had been intimate with someone else, and by her logic, it is impossible at all that Zaley is Scotty's daughter. Well, that sure confuses me more than it clears things up.
What was the problem exactly? You let him sign the birth certificate.
Because we were engaged. I thought we were going to have a happy life and raise our daughter together until about 3 months after she was born. One of his friends told me everything that he was doing throughout our entire relationship, cheating on me, going to multiple places to meet multiple girls.
So, after all the back and forth, it's still pretty unclear what exactly is Tiffany's problem with Scotty. Here's a man who's willing to do everything for his daughter, even provide for her and drive so many miles just to see her and take care of her. Yet Zaley's mother insists that he's not the father. Then, who really is the father here?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father. Miss Miller, that's a lot of nerve considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve.
Your heart will undoubtedly ache to watch Mr. Matthew Threlkeld. And if you ask why, well, it has to do with the way his wife treated him. Let's start with this question. What was Matthew's wife doing at home while he was out serving his country? Sleeping with 20 men!
He hacked my Facebook. He invaded my privacy, and he
guys gotta
looked
find
into
out.
my stuff. But
Actually, ma'am, see, she's gonna.
No.
That's already a lie. I see. Oh, baby, I can't wait to see you later on tonight. I had a great time with you. I can't wait to see. The last few days we spent together, it's been amazing.
These are the messages
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
seeing
Yes,
that
ma'am.
your wife is entertaining while you're serving your country.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is why the plaintiff is here in court to present a case against his wife, Brittany, to Judge Lauren. Most importantly, he wants to confirm if his 18-month-old daughter, Liliana, is even his. After all, it's his right to suspect the girl's paternity after what his wife did behind his back.
Ms. Threlkeld, what? Your husband's overseas, serving his country,
Yes.
serving our country, keeping us all safe. What in the world
It's an
led
act.
you to entertain these type of messages on your Facebook, and you've admitted that you had a few indiscretions. What is going on?
Damn, this mommy has absolutely no shame. How could she ever cheat on her loyal husband like that? Even Judge Lauren is pretty shocked. The biggest shocker? Brittany lies that Matthew promised to divorce her. He was even going to send her divorce papers. It seems like she's coming up with all kinds of lies to excuse her shameless behavior.
When the day I was supposed to come back home from overseas, we were told before we even got on the plane that there's going to be the color guard, the motorcycles that drive, in front. The news was going to be there. I get there and not my father, my mother, my wife, like I said, we'll quote that, weren't even there. We get there, they call everybody's names up, everybody's clapping and cheering. They come to my name and it's just dead quiet. No one was there.
But the worst thing that the defendant did was when Matthew came back from Afghanistan and she came to pick him up in skimpy clothes, she was dressed to simply say as a hooker who had money falling out of her dress pockets. Now, that puts poor potential fathers in a difficult position.
Even though you've had this conversation that you're done while you were overseas, you come back and you have in your mind, maybe if I could get her to stop stripping, we could maybe make it work. I get her pregnant, she can stay off the pole and stay in the house.
Yes, ma'am.
That's in your mind.
So, now Brittany and Matthew have 3 kids, and because of all the stuff that she's done behind his back, Matthew highly doubts that the last kid belongs to him. Because of that, he had to make the difficult decision to opt for a paternity test just so he could reveal the truth.
In the case of Threlkeld versus Threlkeld, pertaining to 1-year-old Liliana, Mr. Threlkeld, you are Liliana's father.